Vietnam Steve is on his way.
Sing ciao everybody, welcome back. You're watching Vietnam Steve, and I've got a good one for you today. So I've switched it up a bit, and I'm trying to talk about things that make me more resilient. You've caught me on a blustery afternoon here, but it is very, very hot, so too hot to do anything else, so I thought I'd come along and make you a video today. And what I want to talk about is emergency fund alert, and why that's so important, how it's one of the most important things to get right, how it helps us live smarter and risk less, and of course all the permutations that go along with that. So I'm going to sit down at the park because it's a bit shady down there, and see how we go sound wise. And at the end of this video, I actually want to get some feedback from yourselves just on your own emergency funds and how you create time in those periods of crisis in our lives. So stick with me. I'll get set up down here and we'll have a chat about emergency fund alert. Most of our financial stress doesn't come from big disasters. It comes from small surprises that upset the apple cart. So the quiet hero of living smarter and risking less is really the emergency fund. Now let's find somewhere out of the wind and get on with the show. Well, this one's a bit artistic. I'm sitting on the grass, so hopefully I haven't got an ant's nest underneath me. But what is an emergency fund? So for all of us that are nearing retirement or acting prudently in our lives, it's cash. It's easily accessible cash. It's boring. It's not an amount of money that we have stuck away hoping to get rich quick and have some growth on. It's not an investment. It's not a holiday fund. It's just boring old cash. And you have to remember, think about it this way. If it's exposed to risk, it's not an emergency fund. So, you know, you're giving yourself time to make decisions, debug life when life happens to you, and buying time and redundancy when panic sets in. So that's what an emergency fund is for me. Now let me tell you about my emergency fund and what I do. Just before I do that, and I've got you sort of balancing here on a tripod between my legs in the wind, so we'll see how this one goes. If only you could see me. For some people, everything's an emergency. So I wanted to talk about what are real emergencies in life. And that's going to depend whether you're working, retired, married, single, at home, geographically overseas, who knows. So things that I think are emergencies might be car repairs that come out of the blue, some sort of medical gap payment that you have to make that you weren't expecting. Maybe you're overseas and you need some urgent travel, or maybe you're in Australia and you need to travel to the other side of Australia for a family emergency. If you're, whoa, the wind is blowing the tripod here. If you're in a job, maybe it's a sudden job change that surprises the apple cart, or it could be as simple as what we had here the other day. My story is a fridge death. So live smarter, be prepared, risk less, responsible resilience and pre-planning. That's the way to go. So when I think about my emergency fund, I have to think about how much is enough, you know, because we can have an emergency fund that just defeats the purpose of being an emergency fund. So going back through all those things, are you working, are you overseas, are you married, are you single, it's going to depend on are you healthy, are you unhealthy. It's going to depend on your own, how fragile your life is. And so if your life is very fragile and you're living on the edge, then you'll need a larger emergency fund than if your life is a little bit calmer and you're going with the flow. So the general wisdom out there is it's 3 to 6 months. I'm a resilience person, so I max it out at about 12 months. But if you had 3 months cash on hand of your known expenses, so if you spend 10 grand a month, you'd need 30 grand on hand. If you spend 3 grand a month, you'd need 9 grand on hand. So it's different for all of us, and I can't give you any advice on that. And everything I'm talking about is not advice, of course. It's an entertainer on the interweb telling you what he does. So where should you keep it is probably a good question. You know, we've thought about what is an emergency fund. We've thought about what is an emergency. We've thought about the kinds of things that would affect how much you keep for an emergency. And I guess where do you keep it is a good question, because everybody wants to get some sort of growth on their emergency money, especially if you've got $20,000 in an emergency fund. But that's not the purpose of the whole emergency fund. So I guess for each of us, and now I want you to put in the comments, how many months would make you sleep better? Is it 1 month? Is it 5 months? Is it 2 months? Is it 9 months? So what is going to make you sleep better if you had 9 months of expenses covered or 3 months of expenses covered? Thanks for all of you that have stuck around for the new version of Vietnam Steve, the Live Smarter, Risk Less version. Subscribe if you want calmer resilience type topics rather than roaming the streets of some foreign locale. And if you're keen on living smarter and risking less, of course, this is the place for you. So where would you keep it? You'd keep it in a, I'll just grab this camera because it's going to tip over. Where would you keep it? You'd keep it in a high interest savings account. Some people, like Australians, have offset accounts. If they have mortgages or loans, you might keep it in an offset account so you don't have to pay interest on that part of the debt that you actually have. But the main thing I think is to keep it in a separate bank account, which is really a do not touch bank account. It all depends on everybody doing different things, and you know, I'm going to explain what I do now, and mine is just different to everybody else, but I'd really like some critique about it, so comment down below on what you think of my arrangements. So you wouldn't believe it how windy it is out here. It's 50 km/h gusts, but the temperature is about 40 degrees, so it's very hot. I was going to go out walking, but it was too hot to walk, so I've come down to do one of these for you. Now, what's my emergency fund consist of? And remember, this is, you know, my emergency fund, not anybody else's. But I actually know what I spend every month. So I can tell you that my normal outgoings each month for electricity, council municipal rates for picking up the rubbish, health insurance and water is, and a few other odds and sods that come out each month. So give the kids a bit of pocket money every week, etc. All of that comes to about $1,000 a month. So if I wanted to have 12 months of that covered, and I do, I'd have 12 months in an emergency fund. So what I do is I put 9 months in a high interest account and 3 months in my spending account. So I've got 12 months of cash ready to go to cover all those things that come out every month to cover our living. Now, the other thing that I have is there's other things I spend, of course, on top of electricity and water. So when it comes to food and petrol and snacks at the shop and, you know, beer and wild living, I probably spend about $1,000 a month. I've got an ant that's got me when I was sitting on the ground back there. So that's another $1,000 a month. So that's another 12,000. So I add that to the the first 12,000. So now I've got 24,000, of which 3 months is in my spending account, getting no interest, and 9 months is in a high interest savings account, getting a nominal amount of interest. So that works well. And then lastly, I just refill those every quarter. So I action stuff 4 times a year. That is, usually I've spent down the checking account. If there's any money left in there, I throw it into the savings. I then get this ant out of my pants. Holy hell, my leg is red. I then take another quarter's cash and put it in the checking account and top up the 9 months to make sure I've got 9 months in there. So it's fairly simple. So 24 grand. I've then got another grand for actually emergencies. So those first 2 are really my living expenses, but I've got a lot of them in the bank. And the third one is that all of those bills that come out each month that I've got 12 grand sitting there for, I've prepaid them for 12 months. So the bills are paid for 12 months. I've got another 12 months of money ready to go, which I just pay 1 month at a time to keep me 12 months ahead. And I've got 9 months in a medium interest, it's supposed to be high interest savings account, a medium interest savings account. So that's what I do. Basically 12 months out for me. And the reason I do that is a lot about making life simpler and easier, because I only touch it 4 times a year. So I'm not actually interested in topping up the bank every week or every month. I'm just sort of loading it up every quarter, making sure everything's where it needs to be on a quarterly basis, 4 times a year, and Bob's your uncle. Now, there's just a couple of things I need to warn you about before we go. So I'll get up to the top and sit down again and warn you about these last couple of things. All right, here we are. So remember, an emergency fund will turn a crisis into an inconvenience. It's going to build calmness, and it's going to give you space to make decisions. It'll help you sleep better. You'll have no bad situations, or less bad situations, and it'll give you time and peace and calmness to actually address the situation. I'm huffing and puffing coming up that hill. So, at the end of all of this, pick a number. Tell me how many months your number is. Open a separate bank account and automate all the transfers so you don't have to touch it over the course of a year. So, how many months would make you sleep better? Not just ease off the pain, but how many months would make you sleep better, and probably what part of life you're actually at. That's all I've got for you today. It's an emergency fund alert, and I hope I've given you some food for thought in structuring your emergency fund so that you can live smarter and risk less. Thanks for watching. Press the subscribe button, like the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.